Maxey from outside. Sixers lead, courtesy of Tyrese Maxey.
Hit deep to left field, going back is Locastro. It is gone!
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Beef Up Front podcast. This is yours, Ryan Coyle, as always. And as I like to say, the show goes on, continuing our college football preview series. Today's episode 7, going to be diving into the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Spoiler alert, I really like them this year. I think that they have a legit chance to win the Big 12 and go to the college football playoff. I think this could be a historic year in Stillwater, a team that I don't think is getting enough national recognition as like a potential top 10 squad. I think this team has a lot of good returning pieces from last year. We'll get into everything, but I'm very bullish on Oklahoma State going into this year in the new look Big 12. I think they have a right to, or an argument to be the favorite in the conference, but as always, with all our episodes here in the college football preview series, we'll get into a little bit about the head coach, the 2023 season, recap it, look at the offense and defense for this upcoming year, as well as what happened last year and what they lost, and some trends from that team, and then get into my schedule prediction as well, and dive into my entire thoughts on this team's season. So this is episode 7. Have already hit on teams from most of the major conferences so far. We've hit on Penn State, we've hit on Colorado, we've hit on Nebraska, we've hit on Memphis, we've hit on LSU, we've hit on Michigan. As we said today, we're going into Oklahoma State. When you look at Oklahoma State, led by Mike Gundy, I think one of the more kind of famous, recognizable coaches in college football, hasn't won the big one, has always just gotten kind of Oklahoma State there to the brink, but hasn't really gotten them to a breakthrough. If he is able to lead them to a Big 12 title this year, get them to the college football playoff, that's really as good as anyone in Stillwater could kind of ever expect it. So I think that with all the returning guys that they have this year that we'll get into, they have a very good chance to do it. But 19 years at Oklahoma State, 166-79, has them right there around 8-4 to 10-2 each and every season. He's about as consistent as it gets in college football. Like I said, it kind of has gotten to him that he hasn't been able to win the big one and hasn't able to emerge. I remember a few years ago against Baylor, they were an inch away from winning the Big 12 title. But, I digress on that one. This is a team that look into the future. Oklahoma State, as long as Mike Gundy's there, he's going to have them competing. And with the two big dogs of Oklahoma and Texas stepping down, going to the SEC, they have a chance to kind of step up and be the number one team up there with the likes of Utah, with the likes of Arizona is looking like a team that's emerging. Schools like that I think they're going to be competing with going forward. Kansas State even as well. So the 2023 season was a good one for Oklahoma State, and I don't really think that they were kind of expecting much going into the year, but it started off slow, and they finished really strong. 10-4, they did lose in the Big 12 title game to Texas, but to make it there, they had to have some kind of late season chaos to just get there, and they had that happen. They beat Texas A&M in the Texas Bowl as well, 31-23. Had a strong offense last year, a very balanced group. They ranked 30th in total offense, so a really good offensive team last year. Defense was subpar, though. Defense ranked 86th or below in scoring defense, rush defense, pass defense, and total defense. So despite the defensive kind of struggles there last year, that offense really carried them and allowed them to get to that 10-4 record and to a Big 12 title game appearance. With an offense that wasn't super dynamic, but they were a solid group. As I said, 30th in total offense, but they weren't really the most flashy team, the most explosive team. They weren't going out there putting up 40, 50 points a game like an LSU that we talked about. I was surprised to see that they still won 10 games with the defense ranking that poorly. Like I would have thought that the offense would have been a little bit better, maybe up in like the top 15 in some of those total offense points, et cetera. But they still won 10 games. And that was also starting out 10-2 with a 33-7 loss to South Alabama in their third game. So they were able to rebound from that and kind of come back from that slow start. Last year, though, this is kind of you can take it with a grain of salt and look at it through kind of whatever lens that you want. People can view this as a negative. People can view this as a positive, but they did go 5-1 in one-score games. So you can say, all right, they could have been 6-0. They could have been 11-3, whatever. They still were 5-1 in one-score games. Does that flip this year? Are they more so 3-3, and you lose a couple more games? That remains to be seen. But that's something that caught my eye with this team. I kind of give it to the fact more of they just know how to win. They know how to play close games. They know how to win close games. And with a really experienced group coming back this year, I think that's only going to help them more. They return a ton from a team that won 10 games in the Big 12 last year. Bring back 18 total starters with 9 on offense, 8 on defense, and their punter. Some of the most roster continuity, roster retention in the country. They remind me a lot of going into last year, how I felt about Florida State. Besides at the quarterback position, Jordan Travis is definitely a step up from Bowman. But with what they brought back and the talent they have and the coach in place, I was very, very high on Florida State going into the year last year. If Jordan Travis doesn't snap his leg in half or his ankle in half, that's a team that's going to the college football playoff last year. Oklahoma State, I think, could be in that same kind of category, and it starts on the offensive line. We'll get into the entire offense here in a little bit, but when you're able to return that many guys up front, as well as a head coach, guys on defense coming back, a Heisman potential running back, you have to be bullish about this team. The quarterback play, I think, is going to need to be a little bit improved, where if they are going to make it to a Big 12 title game, or they are going to make it to the playoff for the chance to make a little bit of a run at that thing, the offensive passing game will probably have to be a little bit better, but they have the pieces there. So we'll get into the offense now. Anytime you return 9 starters on offense, whether it's a great offense the year before or an average offense, you have to be bullish about the next year going forward, because just more experience, more snaps under these guys' belts, you have to expect they're going to take another leap. And as I said, they weren't a super dynamic offense, a real solid group, 30th in total offense. But this year, with all the returning pieces, you would expect this to be a top 15 to top 10 total offense in college football. That is definitely what I'm expecting with this Oklahoma State squad. They have an argument for the best offensive line in the country, with all 5 starters returning, and then plenty of guys behind them that have played. I heard one analyst say basically they have 2 starting offensive lines, like 5 guys behind the 5 starters that could, within a pinch, go in there and play meaningful snaps, and you not really see a drop off. And that's really rare seeing college football. I'm not sure how they were able to retain all of that, because that's something that you would see guys, all right, I'm not going to be playing this year. I could probably go start at another school, especially when you're in the Big 12. Even if you take like a step down, you go to the American, the Sun Belt, or something like that. Those guys are starting, and with NIL now, they're probably getting a pretty decent package down there to go be a starting offensive lineman. It shows you kind of the belief in this team, and also I think the ability to play more guys, if they are struggling, or you want to go some jumbo sets. They have a lot of guys that have played a lot of snaps up front on the offensive line, and that's really one of the most valuable things in college football. So then you combine that with arguably the best running back in college football, and Ollie Gordon, you have to expect this offense to take another leap this year. Last year, this offense averaged 29.6 points per game. I expect the continuity for this offense to go over 30 points per game, probably around the 35 point per game region. Ollie Gordon led the country last year with 1,732 rushing yards and won the Doak Walker Award as the nation's top running back. He returns running behind this great offensive line that has a lot of depth. And as I said, if 1 or 2 guys go down in front, they have plenty of good potential starters there. Probably starters for a lot of other teams throughout the country right behind them, and ready to step up. So they're going to live and die with the ground game. Last year against West Virginia is an example, 29 carries for 282 yards and 4 touchdowns for Ollie Gordon. So just an absolute stud back there. He had the potential DUI or the off the field issue. Gundy said he's not going to be suspended for it. That's going to be an internal kind of punishment. So he's a guy that if you're looking for a Heisman long shot, I think he's like 75-1, 80-1. He's going to get the touches. If there's going to be a non-quarterback to win it, Ollie Gordon has to be one of the 2 to 3 guys that you potentially consider there. They're going to live and die with him. Alan Bowman, quarterback. This is kind of where the team could either take it to another level or take a step back because of his play. He's back at quarterback for his 7th year of college football. He needs to clean up his decision-making, though. Only had a 15 touchdown to 14 interception ratio last year. So that's something that definitely needs to clean up. And he's going to have to step up and make some big plays. Like I said, if they do win the Big 12, they get into the college football playoff, they're probably going to be playing a high-level SEC team in their first game, or one of the Big 10 teams, whether it's Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, potentially, that they go in and win their first game. They could potentially be meeting up with them, Michigan, someone like that they're going to be playing a really good team, that the quarterback's going to need to be able to step up and make throws. And with Ollie Gordon, we talked about how good the running game potentially could be, how good the offensive line can be. when you're giving a guy the ball that much, they have to have some depth behind him and be able to dish it out to some of these other backs. But you can't be relying on him in December and January to carry it 25, 30 times and be 100%. Bowman's going to have to step up. But throughout the regular season and kind of just to get to the playoff, get to the Big 12 title game, simple formula for him. Take care of the ball and really let Ollie do the rest of the work. And on third downs and stuff, you're going to have to step up when needed. But that's going to kind of separate Oklahoma State is, whether they're going to be a good team or a great team, and if they can get Gundy over that hump. Gundy isn't shy of feeding Ollie Gordon, though, either. He averaged 24 carries per game over the last 11 games of the season. So, like I said, they're going to live and die with him. They have a talented group of pass catchers, though. It's just whether or not Bowman can elevate this receiving game, this passing game. Brennan Presley, Rashad Owens, and Deshaun Stribling are all bringing their own kind of unique flavor and talent to this receiving group. So the talent's there. Can Bowman get kind of on the same page with them and especially take care of the ball? Taking care of the ball is going to be the biggest thing for him. But make no joke about it, this is going to be a run first squad. Our episode yesterday we talked about with Michigan, very similar there, that they're going to live and die with the running game. When you look at the defense was definitely not strong last year, a group that has to improve. Like I said, ranked 85th or below in scoring, rushing, passing, and total defense. Give up 30 or more seven different times as well. They average less than 2 sacks per game as well. That's going to be a number that has to increase, has to improve. In the Big 12 title game, the secondary too, they got absolutely torched by Texas. Texas out of the league now. There's not going to be as dynamic of a passer. I mean, you're going to see Shedeur Sanders is in the conference now, Noah Favita from Arizona, Cam Rising, but Quinn Ewers and those Texas receivers last year, I don't think anyone is really dishing out that kind of talent in the Big 12 this year, but still, they got absolutely torched by them. They gave up 49 points. Texas threw for 464 yards and 76.6% of their passes they completed. So this is a team that does return 8 starters, though, so you can also, as we talked about earlier with kind of the one-score game thing, you can look at that through 2 different lenses. You can be like, all right, well, there's 8 starters from a team that gave up 30 or more 7 times, ranked 85th or below in all the major defensive categories, blah, blah, blah. Or you can be like, all right, 8 starters. I expect this team to improve from last year, get better, take that experience from a team that still found a way to win 10 games and elevate their game this year and step up. I'm looking at it like that in a more positive light and expecting this group to step up for sure. And I think it starts in the middle, the linebacker spot with Nick Martin and Colin Oliver, 2 of the best linebackers in the Big 12, should be 2 kind of all Big 12 performers. They get another year of experience under their belt. They should really help a run defense that ranked 96 in the country last year. That's a thing that's going to have to improve as well. When you look at Oklahoma State, I look at them as more of kind of like a ball control type of offense and team with the running game with Gordon and that offensive line. So the defense is going to be, I think, maybe put in some situations at times where it's like, all right, the offense just had a really long drive. Here comes the defense. Give us some time. Give us some breaks. Are they able to get quick stops or something? It remains to be seen. This is a defense that I'm not overly optimistic about, but with all the returners, I expect them to take a little bit of a step up. They don't have to be awesome, but the offense, I think, definitely going to take a step up from last year where they were 30th in total offense. I'm expecting them to be top 15 to 20 offense this year. The defense, if they can be, 75 or below instead of 85 and kind of hold their own on the defensive end and just get some key stops when it matters, that's going to be key. The pass rush has to improve, but this is a group I'm expecting to take a little bit of a step up and help this team hover right there around the 9 to 10 win mark, as they always do under Mike Gundy. But we'll get into the schedule now, break down the schedule prediction. I'll pull it up and share my screen, and we'll go through game by game, give you my breakdown on what I'm expecting out of these Oklahoma State Cowboys. All right, here we go. Week 1 is a pretty daunting game. South Dakota State, has won 2 national championships in a row at the FCS level. I think this is like an 8-point spread or something. It should be a really good game and one that you can't sleep on. And as we talked about with their slow start last year, they lost 33-7 to South Alabama. So it's been shown that they can be caught sleeping at the beginning. But I'm going to give Oklahoma State the win there. Arkansas, big year for Arkansas coming up. A lot of pressure on Sam Pittman, Bobby Petrino in there now. Should be an interesting game, but I am going to have Oklahoma State win this one with them being at home. Tulsa win. Utah, that's going to be a great game. Utah, Kansas State, Kansas, Oklahoma State, or Arizona even kind of are the 4 to 5 teams being really discussed as the legit Big 12 title threats. Oklahoma State able to get Utah at home here. I'm going to give them a win, 3-0. First loss, I have them losing at Kansas State. I think Kansas State's going to be awesome. Avery Johnson, we'll get into an episode on them in a little bit, in a few episodes from now. But that's a team I'm expecting big things from. Going to there, that's not going to be an easy one. West Virginia is a team I'm expecting a good season out of as well. Really came on last year, 9-4. But West Virginia goes to Boone Pickens Stadium in Stillwater. So I'm going to have Oklahoma State win that game. I'm going to have Oklahoma State beat BYU as well. I'm going to have them beat Baylor as well. Arizona State, TCU, that's going to be a tough one. I'm interested to see what TCU brings to the table this year, but I think this Oklahoma State team's going to be rolling, and I have them winning that game. Still only one loss. Here comes the funky loss. Feels like every single year of Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State has this. Last year was UCF. I think they lost UCF like 45-3 last year in late in the season in like November. And it was like, oh, wow, they needed that win to get to the Big 12 title game. The next week they needed like someone else to lose, and then they needed to win and a bunch of chaos to happen. And the chaos did happen, but they could have avoided all that with just beating UCF. But Texas Tech's going to be a bit of a sleeper team. I think kind of the team that maybe surprised a little bit in the Big 12 this year, finds their way to like 7-5, 8-4, but they knock off like a Oklahoma State. They knock off like a Kansas State and throw like a little bit of chaos into the mix. So I'm going to have Oklahoma State lose there and then finish out the season with a win over Colorado at Colorado. So that is a 10-2 record for me with Oklahoma State. I'm expecting big things out of them. I think they're a legit Big 12 threat, as we've touched on. Over 8 wins at -120 is one of my favorite plays on the futures market. I know I have a couple kind of coin flip games there. You could say, all right, they're not going to lose to Texas Tech. All right, you could take that one out, but then maybe they do lose the game at or versus Utah or versus West Virginia. I could see them losing. Baylor, who are some people like is a 6-7 win team this year. TCU as well. Like there's a lot of coin flip games. This is the Conference of Chaos. We discussed it over on Fox Sports The Gambler, Philadelphia. That's what we named this conference, the Conference of Chaos. I think we're going to see a lot of up and down kind of craziness in this conference this season, and that's going to make for a fun one. But I think this Oklahoma State team might be the most reliable if they just get solid quarterback play from Bowman there, and he doesn't turn the ball over. But plus 800 to make the playoff is a bet that I'm going to make for this team as well. Plus 750 to win the Big 12. At that point, I'm just going to take them to make the playoff, because then potentially 2 Big 12 squads get in. Because if they win the Big 12, they're automatically getting in. But just say they go 10-2, 11-1 or something, they lose in the conference title game, whatever. I don't think 9-3 will get in, but 10-2, 11-1, and their losses are good losses. They could be like that 10th, 11th team and still get in. So I'll take them at plus 800 to make the playoff instead of plus 750 to win the Big 12, because you basically get, a second chance there as one of the wild card kind of at-large teams. So minus 120 for over 8 wins is a play I'm definitely going to take, and then a sprinkle I'm going to do as well. I'm at plus 800 for them to make the playoffs. But Oklahoma State Cowboys team I am quite bullish on this year. I'm excited to see what Ollie Gordon can do behind this great offensive line. But as always, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and we're going to be rolling out probably 20 to 25 more episodes before we get college football back on our TV. But thank you, everyone, for listening. Please like, subscribe, and we will talk soon.